Hello, everyone, and welcome to Final Fantasy Count Up Cast, a weekly show counting up to the release of Final Fantasy 15's release date, which was supposed to be September 30th, and we're still all sad about that. November 29th, though, just means we get an extra show or two in there, because last week's show, or 2 weeks ago show, was supposed to be about 7 and 8. This week's show is going to be about Final Fantasy 8 and why it's tehMorag's favorite game, and why he loves it so much forever. Speaking of which, Morag's back! I'll introduce you first.
He's alive.
He's alive.
I have been streaming all the time. Just because I'm not here for one count up cast because of issues kind of out of my control. I was still streaming. I played the shit out of FF8, man. That game is too much fun.
And Slack, who is very begrudgingly just listening to Morag say that right now as he sips on his water out of a Coca-Cola glass, or what looks like a Coca-Cola themed glass.
Sponsor me.
It is. Okay, I thought so. I recognized it. Slack is here as well. I put in the tweet featuring Slack because I have a feeling Morag's going to get to do the large majority of the talking
here. Show if we're not careful.
Oh, that's it. He doesn't want to be featured. He wants to be the star. He wants to be a slacker. I just watched Back to the Future like 2 nights ago. So
that is actually where my name began.
Yes! I'm so proud of you.
Eat lead, slackers! And then that turned into a big meme in my group of friends, and it took off from there.
Well, I like Back to the Future, so I can appreciate
Great
that.
Series.
So this week, we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy VIII. That being said, Morag didn't get to say anything about Final Fantasy VII.
Can I say something really good about
it? You know what? You've earned that right.
By far, best combat so far up to this point. Best combat.
Really?
It was fast. It was responsive. Everything felt like you had control of the combat. Enemies would throw their shit at you and be like, "No, I'm gonna throw something right back at you afterwards." I enjoyed the game. I was happy. I got to Sephiroth. This is the second time I'll ever playing the game, but I got there faster, like level 40 something. I only had to make my one party, so I was really happy.
It's a reasonable level to make it there, 48. That's like I went through the game level, and then that's it, which is fine. I like that. That's it. That's all you have to say about 7. You want to keep the show?
It was good. I'm like we made like a lot of like good talks, speculation about how they could be splitting up the new however they end up remake. They call it chapters, but they also said it's going to be in the same style that they did 13 story as well too. So 3 feature-ish type long games trying to include Crisis Core, the main story, and Advent Children, all wrapped up into basically the definitive version of Final Fantasy VII universe. So we'll see what happens. It could be good.
It's not turn-based.
I don't care, man.
Neither do I.
You know what? The one downfall to going back and playing 7 again is because I enjoy the shit out of Crisis Core. Crisis Core is an amazing game and an amazing story. But like walking into the game already knowing all the backstory, you're just like, I'm so confused. What are they trying to say? What are they doing?
What is the end result here?
I
actually kind of like I like taking some of the backstory and knowing what's going to happen in the game. For me that actually makes 7 a lot more enjoyable even.
Like knowing the backstory or not knowing it?
Knowing it.
For me, it was just
7 because of how convoluted and how much of a mess that story can be. Knowing what's happening so you can actually pay attention to some of the points that the story is making and some of the hints that it gives you, and it actually makes it a lot better to me.
Don't worry, Slack. You want to talk about a mess of a story? That's what today is for.
Yes, it is.
So moving on, since Morag just had all nice things to say about 7 and didn't get to be a part of the great discussion we had 2 weeks ago, especially regarding the enemy and especially regarding the enemy animations. That was a great topic. Yeah.
Were you guys really smacking on like an entry level PS1 game battle animation?
Yes. Super Mario 64 did it better.
See, I feel like 64 is not aged very well either.
Super Mario has.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It really hasn't.
All right, opinions are opinions. That is mine, and that is yours. So I'm guessing we all played the Steam version of Final Fantasy VIII here. There's really no reason
by the way.
There's really, like, that's it. Like, at this point... What?
I did mod the shit out of mine, too.
I modded the music into mine.
Music, backgrounds. Some of the backgrounds got really weird. And then I think I touched up... Triple Triad I touched up. There's a bunch, yeah.
There's a great meme in Final Fantasy VIII. I think it's with the PC version in particular, the old PC version, not the Steam version. Where there's this issue you see in the Steam version too, where sometimes people like background characters who are supposed to be fully three-dimensional are very pixelated.
They look like they got shot by an 8-bit gun, and they're just fading into the background.
Yeah, and that happens quite frequently.
FF7 or FF8?
8.
Oh, okay. Well, one thing I will say for FF7, I did put scan lines on, and my goodness, did it actually look good. It's the only...
I watched part of your playthrough, and it looked not bad.
It looked better than what it did before, at least to me. I don't know. Like I don't like scan lines, but I threw it on 7 and it made a lot more sense. It just made it look better. I don't know.
Well, with Final Fantasy VIII, the meme is there's the scene very early on where Renoa first meets Squall, and she calls him the most handsome man at the dance. And it zooms in on his face, and it's all pixelated. He's like, it's one of the, it's
So
it's
good.
one of the
Have you not seen that, Morag?
If somebody has that image, put it in all of our chats, please, because I would love to have that handy right now. I think I actually have it downloaded somewhere on my computer. So at this point, like talking about different versions is kind of meaningless outside of which cheats are available. I guess from this point on, we have 8, then 9 is Steam and PS1, 10 is like PS3, PS4, PS2, Steam, and just the cheats in international versus normal. Then 12, 13, like things. It's not like it was back with the old remakes, like 6 and 4 and stuff, where there's like 11 different versions of it. Unfortunately, I wish there was 11 different versions of 8. So we can
Maybe
make fun
one
of it.
would be good.
Okay, you know what? Do we have a shots counter? 7 by now.
Yeah, he just wants to make Morag as salty as possible. Oh, there's one. Somebody linked it to me. There's
I put it up in
That's
the
the
chat,
PS1 version, by the way. That has to be the PS1 version because
It is, yeah.
one thing that was nice about, like, you know, I don't know if it was like this for like the original FF8 PC version, but the models looked real good. I didn't even have to touch them. Like the main character models look good. Like they went through and cleaned them up.
Well, Squall sure cleans up good.
Hey, that's a PS1 version. How dare you? That is a PS1 version.
Squall cleans up great.
They did do a lot of improvements on this one. They didn't just like smooth over the pixelation like they did with the FF7 character models. For the character models that they did work on, they took them and they made them look much, much better. It's a huge upgrade over the original release.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like one of the FF7 mods I ended up putting in was it was actual real models.
I almost used that mod as well. It used for 7, except I was like, I don't care about a retranslation. I just want the original.
Yeah. Well,
I
you
don't
can
have to go look up what this weapon is, who it's for, and all this.
Yeah, that was the one downfall was the retranslation. I didn't super duper enjoy. But going through and cleaning up a lot of the models was nice because all I remember is like the first time I played FF7, I was like, why are we playing around with Play-Doh for half these models? It looked like just moldable Play-Doh.
I like the horse hooves.
You go and take a big color, you put it on top of the body, and then you have your arms and you move them yourself. That's what all the models look like in FF7. So I didn't like that.
Well, so with Final Fantasy, let's talk about Final Fantasy. I knew you weren't going to be done with Final Fantasy 7. I knew the light was going to come back so many times this show. It was like, oh, because last week or like the week before, you said I have so much to say about 7 when I get on the show about Final Fantasy 8, and you were done in like 60 seconds, and I was like, no, you were not. You're not done. Don't lie to me. So we're going to structure this discussion very similarly to the way we've structured most of them. Start with party composition, combat, story, just break down all the different aspects that we can harass Morag about. So anyway, Final Fantasy VIII is a lot like 6, I feel, where pretty much all your allies are capable of the exact same things, minus their limit breaks, essentially. I don't know if that's something you guys liked here any better than you liked it back in 6, or if it felt any different to you guys. That's just how it felt to me.
I sort of agree to a degree, except in 6 we still have not complete character homogenization because characters still have their unique abilities in 6, whereas 7 completely did away with that, and then 8 again went a little bit further, except now we have limit breaks being almost the most important combat ability for every single character.
Yeah.
And so therefore that makes your character choices almost dependent on which limit breaks you want to bring to your team.
Mm-hmm.
So Squall.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. There's no optional characters here like in 7 either, or 6. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
You get every character here. There's a lot of optional summons, but Preferred parties, Morag. I'll let you start with preferred parties.
I honestly didn't have a preferred party. It was Squall and I don't know. I was using
And whoever could keep Squall alive.
I was like, Squall needs to stay alive or else I'm dead. Renault was fun because the dog's name was Oh My Dog, so we had Oh My Dog canon. That was fun. I honestly liked Zell just because I enjoyed, the button input a little bit more than just keep having to press X button and seeing if my limit breaks were up. And then, I don't know, Queestus or Selfie for healing, pretty much, or basically who was my res bot, who was just throwing out Mega Phoenix and Phoenix Downs for the entire fight if need be. That's what they were. That's all the third person.
Yeah, I mean, it's Squall and the harem, essentially, is the way I treated it. I don't know about you, Slack. What did you end up doing?
Mine was Squall and the other two. The other two are completely inconsequential. My playthrough was Lionheart Disc 1, and I didn't do anything else for the other characters. I didn't care about them, so I didn't try to really get their limit breaks. I didn't worry about upgrading their weapons or anything. So for me, I guess I used the two characters that probably annoyed me the least, sort of. Which were? I guess Quistis and Zell. Okay. And then Selfie as like a close third.
Selfie is we got to talk about Selfie a little bit later. It's funny, I usually play with Irvine because when I was growing up I loved his limit break in particular.
So much.
But then I remembered that it was never actually good. I just liked it. So
a little damage in it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Even if you get the pulse ammo, you only get like 3 shots off and then it's done. And most of the time doesn't even do max damage, so sad face. Is there any of the characters you couldn't stand? So it sounds like you really didn't like Irvine and okay.
Honestly.
Well, all right. So when I was younger, I remember Selfie being way more annoying than she ended up being on this playthrough. I was shocked that she didn't bother me this much. I was like, where was all this characterization of her that I remember? It wasn't there. She liked trains and she sang about those. And then she wanted to go see the garden that she grew up at and make sure everyone was okay after it got hit by missiles. And that was about it. I was like, okay, I don't know what I was seeing there so much. Oh, God, Irvine. We'll get to him more when we get around to the story because that's essentially the linchpin of the problems that I have with the story of the game. And then Renoa.
Come on, Renoa is the cute flirty that just wants to... Oh, woe is her, kind of.
She wants the D, is what she wants.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's in love with Cypher, and then she's the teenage girl thing of like, oh, but here's this guy in a leather jacket. Now I'm.
Come on. This
guy
tried so hard to get Squall.
But it was sisterly love.
This reminds me of the whole Tifa Aerith Cloud thing where he's like, Tifa is like, please, I love you, and he's just like, I killed her, I drowned her in the lake, can't do it.
Oh God, we're back to this.
I knew it would be. What about you, Morag? Any characters you just literally could not stand?
Queestus, because she was just a crybaby. Internally, I could feel that she just cried internally, and no one listened to her half the time. She was the person. Like, she was like the student that turned into a teacher. She found out that she was a shitty teacher. It felt like she wanted Squall. It felt like that she wanted Sid. And then in the long run, she got no one.
She dies alone.
See, the fact that she didn't cry outwardly constantly was one of the things that I guess I like about her here. Because, like, she goes off to become a teacher, and then she fails at it. And then she just, like, internalizes all that struggle. She's just like, well, I'm not a teacher anymore. I'm going with you guys on the mission.
Listen, she's got a whip and she's just like a librarian. That's all you need.
It's also that. There's the, that whole aspect to her character as well.
I don't know. The majority of characters in the game don't have much substance to them.
Other than Squall, who gets a little bit too much character development.
And even then, Squall is like
development. That's an interesting word choice.
Squall as a character is so questionable, even up to the end of the game, that there's still floating fan theories out there to what actually happens to Squall and what exists and what's real and what's not real.
Well, considering the way the rest of the story is going to go when we get there, there's plenty of room for interpretation. But first, let's talk about the combat here, because Final Fantasy VIII, I feel like we could talk about it a little bit more so than we did 7's combat, because at this point we've nailed it home. ATB gauge is how it is. and that's still true here. It does a few different things in terms of what you can actually accomplish in combat that are unique to Final Fantasy VIII. One of them being the reverse ATB gauge that is available for the summons. The summon system in this game is not so much different and weird, but just not the way it was previously. Summons aren't like instant cast. They have their own health bars. They have a charge bar. You can boost their power and things. It doesn't make them good, but it puts them in the game and makes them something, I suppose. Is there anything about Final Fantasy VIII's combat that to you felt distinctly different and refreshing?
I'm trying to remember which things about the things about 8 that I noticed and the things about 9 that I've been noticing still. With 8, I suppose the limit break system is the biggest one. Big up to the fact that you don't have to farm up your limit breaks the same way that you do in 7 by killing a ton of things and using the limit breaks bunch. Yay, that's a really annoying system in 7. In 8, however, limit breaks run the game. There's almost no reason to do anything else with your combat if you can set it up for it. Get a character low on health, stock up on Phoenix Downs, revive them so that they're in critical again with a Phoenix Down, and keep switching to that character until you get their limit break active, and then just use it over and over and over and over.
Especially Squall.
Especially Squall.
Especially Squall.
It does suck that you can't choose which one of Squall's 4 limit breaks you're going to use after you get his Lionheart unlocked.
That being said, he has the benefit of his, no matter what you land on, he has a multi-hit limit break. Yeah. So something that is very coveted in all Final Fantasies is multi-hit limit breaks.
Actually,
multi-hit or breaking the damage cap.
Yeah.
In some way.
Did any of you guys end up playing Paper Mario Year of the Thousand Year Door?
Not yet.
No.
I strongly recommend playing it. Main reason why is because there's a way that you can play that game that's just like you kind of just play it in FF8 the same way too. In FF8 you had to always keep your HP very low in order to get the most damage out. In Paper Mario there's a run that you can do called Danger Mario, where basically you have to keep your HP as low as possible and you will do a shit ton of damage. But in Paper Mario, every damage you can take in that game is avoidable in some way through like a quick time event. That's all Paper Mario games. It's can you avoid the damage by doing a quick time event. So it's kind of interesting seeing then coming back to FF8 and playing FF8 with all these limit breaks and realizing, holy shit, limit breaks are extremely dangerous. And in one way, they break the game and the combat itself, one aspect of the combat. And that was one thing too that people don't really like about Thousand Year Door as well too, is because it ends up breaking the combat as well.
You want to talk about breaking the combat? Let's talk about the draw system.
In what fashion are we talking about the draw system? Are we talking about in the real, like in the overworld map? Are we talking about in the combat?
We're talking about the game.
Getting magic in general.
The game. Because technically, okay, so we're talking about in combat mostly right now, because I actually think that draw as a factor directly in combat is actually very cool in Final Fantasy VIII. A lot of people remember it for sitting there and drawing magic. That's the one thing people remember most. The one thing I actually forgot till I played again was that you could just use the magic you drew right there. If there's ever a spell, if you don't have people stocked with heals or you don't want to use certain spells to beat a fight, a lot of the times the game sets you up for success by putting those magics on the enemy and letting you interpret the method in which they can be used. Which is something I actually enjoyed a lot, even though I never had to use it because I also had a Disc 1 Lionheart. I don't know. The draw system as a whole is a big controversial thing. So do you guys like it, dislike it?
Draw, if it weren't such a grind, whether it's in battle or through card games or wherever you're drawing from,
we'll talk about those
wherever
later.
you're getting the spell stocks, it's just very poorly implemented. It's an okay idea. Out of the two big systems of the game, draw and junction is awful. I hate the idea of it. I don't think there's a good way to make that implemented to where it still has the same idea of the junction system. For draw, it's not the worst thing ever, surprisingly.
And now here's where Morag comes to shit on your day. Morag?
I was just gonna say is like, and Sir Luber has already said in my chat, I dislike the fact that I had to sit there and draw 9 on Fire 1 school just to boost my magic, just to boost my stats. And this is the one thing that you know, as gamers, we ended up seeing how we played in 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 7. And then we picked up FF8, and we see this new command in chat, draw. or in the combat, it says draw. So we're like, okay, so what do I do? Oh, they talked about the junction system. Okay, so I have to get magic and put it in my junction system. Okay, that means like, where do I get my magic from? Well, this is the only place I can see I can get it from. So that must mean that I have to get it from my battles. They don't do a very good job of explaining where else you can get magic from. Let it be from all of the items that you end up getting. Every single item you get at the end of battle will turn into some type of item. Every time you play a card game, that turns into an item. And then there is to go and get the magic around the world, which is a little bit less common. Like, and I wish that there was more draw points around the world. I wish that they put more everywhere. And this is what I actually really hope that with 15, with again, drawing is going to be a big thing there too for creating your magic, that they put them everywhere. Because just as a gamer, you go in and see, oh, I have to spend all of this time to go and get my magic from this one point, and then I have to spend magic and kill my stats at the same time. It kills like the mentality of, where do I get my magic from? Where's this resource? How do I get it? How do I make my character stronger? And they did a shit job explaining that anywhere in the game. But once you realize where you can get your magic from, it makes a hell of a lot easier.
The problem I have with like the refining stuff is that there is such a, like, you have to grind out to learn those abilities. You have to basically know that you want to learn those abilities, like time magic refinement, ice magic refinement, so on and so forth. And then you have to know which things are going to give you, like, what it'll refine to. So then you can be like, well, all right, if this drops, I need to go kill this guy to get this drop. Or doing the card game, you have to be like, the cards, what they're going to refine to, you don't know what the hell any of those do. You can refine something into 3 diamond armors. What does diamond armor do?
I fully agree with you. And that's like, I actually ended up finding a really cool website that if you put an item in, it will tell you have to use this, like refine from this to this to this to get this one item from it. Yeah. And that got me thinking, okay, so how else could have they done the whole abilities menu in the game? Because right now the abilities menu is a piece of shit. It's terrible. It's awful. You go in once and you go into another one, and then you have to search for the item. It doesn't even sort out what you can use and what you can't use. You have to find that item and find out what it turns into.
Yeah, you have to go through your whole item inventory.
All they had to do is create an option that said refine. Click on it, shows you every single one of your items. When you go and mouse over it off to the side, just like in FF7, how it says like what spells it will turn into once you get a certain level. You go and say it can turn into this. If it's grayed out, you don't have that ability yet.
Yeah.
It would have been so much easier for them to do that. And they had a really nice system and a menu system for materia in 7, and then they shit the bed for how you refine any of your items in FF8. So it was very counterintuitive for a person not to want to try and find out what spells came from what items. And they just opted back, well, I have to draw it from this then.
Yeah, in combat. I remember as a kid, I never even thought to do triple trad, never thought to do the item refinements until I eventually went to like game FAQs as like an 11-year-old and looked it up there, essentially.
To reference a TV tropes thing, it's a guide dang it moment. Where you need a guide, essentially, to know all this stuff. You have to go on the internet. You need the big Prima strategy guide. You need something to tell you, to reference, to look through and go, okay, I can get this from this.
To save time, just to save time. Like, because I didn't find that website until like near the end. But I was manually going through. I'd sit there in menus. Okay, what magic can I get? Can I get this? Can I get that? Is this better? Is this better? I sat there for like sometimes 20 minutes at a time, just trying to like get as much new magic out of refinement as I could.
I would like to comment on the Final Fantasy 15 draw system. Since I played the demo, I've gotten kind of hands-on, and I know Morag, you don't want to play it. You don't want to get too much hands-on. So if you don't mind, though, I'll tell you
talk about it. I just didn't want to know how it felt. That's all.
Okay. There are a lot of draw points, and I know that it's the starting zone that I got to play in, so it's probably deliberate that they want you to get as many magics as possible so you can start experimenting. It is worth mentioning that weapons, some of them do have draw on kill. When you kill an enemy, you'll draw magic from them automatically.
That's nice. That's really nice.
So yeah.
Does it happen to be any of the final weapons?
No, it's a weapon. One of the weapons is right from the get-go, but I'm sure there are weapons that have better draw rates later on, especially.
Do your teammates are able to draw on their weapons?
Yeah, it's if you have it and the enemy dies, it's almost like an item drop in a sense.
Okay. I see what you mean.
It's another way to get more, and you know what? I guess from like an ease point of view, it's just like in FF8, you ended up getting an item and you refine it into a different ones here. Whereas here, it's like you kill the enemy, you automatically get the magic instead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to comment on that since that is an important part that a lot of people are drawing parallels to. And the other thing is there's no junction system, which is what like you were commenting on. I hate the junction system too. I love that you can break your game completely early on. I don't like using magic at all though because of the junction system, because all the spells that I would use the most are the spells that I've junctioned, and I don't feel like destroying my character stats.
It completely de-incentivizes you from ever casting new spells, because you're like, well, if I cast that spell, my HP is going to go down. Funny enough, my first attempt against Ultimecia, where I made it to the very final phase, she has an attack that destroys your spell stock.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
And I had Quistis left as my only character. She had Curaga junction to her HP, and the boss, Ultimecia, erased my Curagas, leaving me with 600 HP.
See, I will say that when I saw like it was just killing spell stocks, like first off, I'm happy that I had like a whole bunch of bullshit spells just sitting in there and not just my junctioned magic. But I was just like, God damn it, please do not unjunction.
What happened to me was I did the I used the cheat, the browser cheat, the game launcher cheat that gives you all the spells, 100 stock of each spell.
Of all the low-level spells, yeah.
And so it gave me the Curaga. So I had all of those junk spells, and it hit the one spell that I needed to stay junctioned to me.
Yep.
I was quite upset about that.
I will say this. Oh, sorry.
Go.
I was just going to say regarding that cheat in particular, I forgot that you had a limited inventory of magic per character, and that cheat destroys that inventory.
Because there's no way to actually drop magic, is there?
I think there is. I think you can click. I don't remember because I don't remember trying to do it.
Yeah.
Because I know I got to a point where I was trying to clean up some of my main characters to try and get some higher spells, and I'm just like, okay, I'm trying to push it off to these other characters. Nope, they're full too. And I never did end up finding a way to remove it. I just made do with it.
Yeah. Luckily, once you have Lionheart and a few tornadoes from playing Triple Triad, your life is a lot easier, is what I learned. Or flares. I think I had 100 flares at some point or something like that.
Yeah,
I ended up. I just made triples and junctioned them to my strength. I could have gone. I should have gone for the tornadoes because I think that's a better one.
It's really easy early on.
Yeah,
triples are best. Around. Triples are best for speed.
Oh.
That's the best thing to junction the triples to. Which I didn't even bother trying to draw from Cerberus because he beat my fucking ass, and I was like, I'm just gonna Lionheart you.
I think I went in the first time against him, and he quaked my team and killed us all in one shot. And
that almost happened to me, yeah.
All right, well, I'm gonna have to reload that.
Yeah,
and not screw around.
He bullied pretty hard. Yeah, he definitely bullied. Okay, so the draw system was the one other big combat change here. I guess the auto crits on the Gunblade is another thing.
Oh,
which is another thing that makes Squall like way better. So here's all the advantages Squall has over everyone else. His weapon has max accuracy. His weapon type has 100% accuracy, essentially, unless he's blinded. He has the ability to force a crit, which is also part of his limit break to force a crit, which then also helps determine which limit break you land on. He's got a multi-hit limit break by default. That's random how many hits you get based on the enemy you're fighting. And then he has a multi-hit similar to Omni Slash as one of his 4 endgame limit breaks. Who made this and thought this was a good idea? I just want to point out all the things he does better than everyone else. The only thing that he can't do is immediately end everything's life. Thank you, Selfie.
Yeah.
I got that once.
I didn't. I didn't see the end.
It was against Tomberry King.
Oh, well.
It was so random. It was so random how it ended up happening, but it was too funny.
It's just a field of flowers says the end, isn't it? That's all it is.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. It's the most beautiful ending that you could have. It was very picturesque, very fairy tale. Perfect.
And that's another thing that if you have 2 people taking an action at the same time, the limit break prioritizes. But that was the case in Final Fantasy VII as well. If you had 2 people taking an action, limit break would go first. Okay, those are like the biggest combat things. I don't know if there's any limit breaks that you specifically liked, because that's technically falls into combat here. I know that personally Renoa is the most hilarious character for me, mostly because of the Doge Cannon.
Boom! The dog hops up there, turns into a loaf of bread, and then you fire it off at something.
And then it farts and destroys everything. There you go. I don't know. Her final one, though, is basically a mini Holy War, which is incredibly powerful. Essentially, the full party. It's something Moon. I
forget what it was. I never got to see it because I ended up opening up all of her magazines by mistake.
Oh, I didn't know. I don't even remember how to get it. In all honesty, you just
You had to
can't.
go and read all the magazines. And then one thing I didn't like, because I didn't know about it until the end, was to actually level up and use her actual abilities too. Was you had to go and select the limit break and then walk around like you're walking your dog in order to power it up so you could use it.
I didn't know that. It's been so long since I.
Yeah, isn't
Well,
that
like,
great game design?
See, it sucks too because like to even select your limit breaks, you had to go into status, press the button 3 or 4 times, and then you got to the actual menu. It's like I don't care about all this other stuff. Just tell me the limit breaks. So it's like that's a second menu item that they just hide and not have a good organization for it. Like I want to see FF8 remade, but I want to see it remade
Good.
with everything fixed. Okay.
I want to make a remade good. You know, it's really fucked up because, like, a lot of people want 7 remade because it was great, and people just want 8 remade to actually make it good in the first place.
I want them to clean up the story. I want to get rid of all the speculation. I want them to refine limit breaks. I want them to clean up how the magic works. And you know what? That game would be so even better.
I want the first line of disc 2 with Squall in it to be like, is this a dream? And he goes, no, why would you think that?
Oh my god.
Slack's loving it.
And
then in Final Fantasy...
That is one of the big points of the game. Well, yeah.
In Final Fantasy 7 Remake, it's like, are you sure she was dead? Yeah, her heart stopped. Of course she's dead. What, do you think I drowned her? Just like shit on the people with the fan theories. Oh, and the whole Renoa is Ultimecia thing. Yeah, that's there's 8 has too many theories to keep track of. And luckily we're gonna talk about the mindfuckery that is Final Fantasy 8's story right now. It's like you loved Final Fantasy 7's mindfuckery last week. How like as a child we all kind of misinterpreted what was happening at certain points.
Yeah. Because the reason I like it is because you can eventually make sense of it all.
Which is
We already talked about all this.
You get sucked up into the earth, and the earth spirit tells you how you're screwing your life up, and then you need to make sense of it all because it poisoned
Genova
you.
cells.
Genova.
No.
No. More. No. That's what I should go back in time, just like in Final Fantasy 8, right? And I should change the Final Fantasy 7 title to Morag Says No. I just want Morag
say no.
Featuring Slackaholicus. There. He wasn't even here for that episode. He still says no. Okay, so Final Fantasy 7 has its confusing points, but I agree. I feel like it comes together in the end. Final Fantasy 8 is the granddaddy of what the fuck is happening in this game. Of all the Final Fantasy games, I feel this one takes the cake. It starts off interesting, sort of, and unique.
Sort of.
Yes, sort of. you have moments that are give or take, but you have a character that's again whatever. I don't care. Why should I care? Kind of like Cloud was, but Cloud was a little bit less of a whiny bitch. And sorry, I can't stop laughing at Cloud. And then you have Squall, who is a whiny bitch, starts to develop a character, and then loses his fucking mind for half the game.
All right, where to begin?
I have a question to ask both of you. What do you interpret when you get into Disc 4? Why the save point multiplies?
Mind fuckery.
Why do you have a theory to why that is? I don't. I'm just wondering if you guys do.
Let me put it this way. I think by around the halfway or end point of Disc 3, I just can't care about the game's story anymore. There's too much nonsense that's happened before it that by the time I get to the end, I'm just like, whatever. You actually have a theory about this. It seems, and I'm just
I don't.
Wait, okay, all right. At that point, I didn't even think that there was any logic to it anymore. It's just like, it's there. It's just a thing that they did. I don't know.
I know. I'm still trying to figure it out because like people in the chat like this is why it like it's multiplying. It's like that foreshadowing. It's like what?
Somebody took my answer from the chat. That's every save point in the game.
There's so many more save points than that.
It could be something like that, yeah, but
because it's time, like the whole time compression. It compressed all the save points into one.
Right there in that one spot in the nursery.
The same reason why in Final Fantasy X I had to collect those 10 fucking items before I fight the final boss. There's no reason. They just decided to do it then and there. And I think that actually the reason for it being there is that's where you first have the sorceress. That's where you have Ultimecia and Renoa's first encounter in that exact room. So it may be kind of like where time kind of compressed from and then it compressed to the current point.
Yeah.
So it could be the origin point. Like, you remember fucking Back to the Future where he does the thing on the chalkboard in the second one? Yeah. That was that point. Yeah. And it was also could just be because they wanted to, which is the more likely reason.
That's what I'm going for. Because like the whole like sorcerer fight, like right following it, it's just like, okay, I'm going through all the different areas
That was really fucking weird, that fight.
I hate that fight, by the way.
It's like they're screwing up the backgrounds. She keeps evolving. We don't really know who Sorceress is, and then it just dies, and you're just like, oh, it's Ultimecia's castle. We're gonna go up there now. And you just ignore the fact that you just went into time compression. And oh yeah, keep in mind, even before that, because of the battle with Edna or whatever, you're like, okay, guys, get ready. Time compression's about to happen. They just run off and skedaddle, and you're just like, get ready, and then
the screen melts. It's like, oh, okay. All right, so let's start at the beginning of the story then for a little bit. So the premise, you've got this school that's training mercenaries.
That are teenagers.
Can we pre-front the entire story saying that the story loops in on itself? It's actual real, like it's a continuous time loop?
Yeah. That's where I was going to end the discussion, but yeah, sure, we can start with that.
So, this is like the most anime premise, I think, in the entirety of the Final Fantasy series.
It is.
Yeah.
Until 10-2.
Okay, yeah.
Which doesn't exist.
I'm trying to think of an anime to compare it to, but the idea of a school of teenagers, and not just that, but the kids themselves, the teenagers.
Naruto?
They're all very anime characters.
Naruto.
It's like Neon Genesis Evangelion, the game.
I was also going to suggest potentially the majority of the primary characters from Attack on Titan. There are a lot of them are young.
I didn't say Pokemon to a small point.
Pokemon is essentially like are all teenagers that go out and they take over the world, apparently.
We're going to be the best.
That there ever was. Like no one ever was.
Like no one ever was.
Yeah.
We are going to be the best, like no one ever was.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking 10-year-old. Imagine being a parent, like my 10-year-old is about to wander off into the world with a fucking creature by his side. Sure, this is what everyone does when they're 10 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it starts off with that mercenary, and that's essentially how the story follows through all the way until disc 2. And then you start to learn the weird shit.
Yeah, like I like the idea of the school and it being teenagers, whatever. It's a very Japanese idea. I'll run with it, okay. The characters themselves end up being really annoying, but then it gets like the arc of you get introduced to this stuff. These like you're a bunch of mercenaries, you're a bunch of badasses. These people hire you to go out and solve their issues. And then the train sequence, which is handled terribly in the game. It's a 15-minute explanation where they repeat things over
about
and over
3 minutes of gameplay. Yeah,
it's super annoying, the introduction to it, but I like the idea that this group, this country, has bought you essentially, and you're fighting for them until you free the country. And then they're just like, sorceresses, focus on that for a while. That's kind of where it goes off, and it's very anime plot arc.
Because it starts off with just talking about the school, then it talks about how the school came to be, and how the sorcerers connected to the school, and then all of a sudden, you find out about sorceresses, and you don't even get to learn about the history of it until much later, except you're just told do it. Yeah. And it's just like, just give me a little bit of like, you know, a little bit
of structure, a little bit of direction.
You know what I do miss is like the random NPCs, and it did happen every so often, but some NPCs where they have that very direct, like you should know this, but you talk to me, like information. It's like FF7 was full of it, FF6, FF4 is full of it everywhere. You talk to every NPC, they foreshadow something about that's coming up. In FF8, it was they wanted to feel a little more the NPC is there for that area, and they don't care about anything else outside of it. And so that's where I almost got to say is like in directing you as a player, do you immerse them in the life of that area, which is what FF8 did, or do you try and foreshadow things that are coming up in the game that these NPCs will have no idea what's coming up, but it's purposely fed to you in that way, because FF8 doesn't feed you that. They will feed it to you when you need it, but they won't tell you before. And that's one of the biggest differences that this FF8 has versus every other Final Fantasy.
Well, after they introduce us to the sorceress in that very direct manner,
Yeah.
it then very quickly becomes, yeah, there's a sorceress from the future who wants to compress all of time, and she needs a sorceress body from our time in order to do it, as well as the person who took care of you as a child and was in love with this other guy who she's been trying to show you the past of to potentially change the past, so that way this event never comes to take place. And now, by the way, we want to actually let her do that so we can actually go to the future and fight her and stop this whole thing from happening.
And in the process, you make everything happen.
So, all right, at this point, where were we? So, okay. Before all that even happened, we have the biggest problem in the game's story as it begins to blossom. Irvine is introduced.
That's in Disc 1.
That's in Disc 1, where the story begins to fall apart. And as we approach the end of Disc 1 and the beginning of Disc 2, that's where it just blows up. So, end of Disc 1 comes up. You're supposed to kill the sorceress. Irvine, the best sniper that they've got,
You just
can't take a
You
shot.
just reminded me of that scene. She fucking kills the president. Everyone's like, yeah! In the crowd.
Yeah.
She lifts him and chokes him and tosses him away. And everyone's like, ah! Which they don't explain it in the game, but I assume it's happening because she is using her magic powers to influence the crowd, basically.
I'm gonna say that they just saw it as like a power move, and they didn't care.
Well, not just that, because when she gets on the microphone, she's like, "You're all worthless maggots," or whatever she says.
See,
She
I
insults
assume,
them. And I'm like,
I assume that the mic was off, and she was just saying it to herself.
"Well,
That's a really
they're
useless
cheering,
microphone."
So I don't know.
Yeah.
She using a magic microphone.
So, yes, Irvine is introduced. Their best sniper.
Don't talk about that. That was like one of the worst parts. Like,
It's the second worst part, probably. The time traveled compression shenanigans aren't even the worst part of the story, because, like I said, by the time I get to that point, I just don't care.
You're
about the
checked
story
out
anymore.
mentally.
Yeah.
How old was Irvine in the game?
They're all teenagers. I'm gonna say 16.
I think he's on the upper end.
I thought he was up on the upper.
Okay.
I'm gonna go find out.
I think he's 19. I think he's
Maybe.
like way older than everyone else, but
Probably,
like
yeah.
not yet in his
That
20s.
makes sense with his character throughout the whole thing. So you get up there. He's supposed to take the shot at the sorceress. Before this even happens, before the sorceress is trapped in there, Quistis and the group are sitting up in the tower, and they're like, Quistis goes, "Man, I really feel bad about what I said to Renoa earlier. All three of us, let's leave the tower that we're supposed to watch so that we can bring the gate down, and let's go say hey to Renoa and to apologize to her." At this point, her characterization goes to complete shit, and she sucks. She takes out the whole team, moves them away from their designated position to go apologize to one of their friends. It's one of the most anime character reasonings I can imagine. And then they get locked in the room, and then they go out through a secret passage, and you're wandering through the sewers for half an hour just to get back to your position so you can go to the top of the tower and throw the switch. There's nothing happens. There's no consequences. You make it back to the tower in time. What is the point of this whole scene? You don't even run into Renoa.
Intensity.
And that's what I'm thinking. Like that, in a way, they tried to tell a character story for some of these characters, at least have like without having massive backstory information. And again, I think it goes and lives more on the premise of you don't get to know. It just happens. Like kind of like the story is being told too. You're just being fed it, and you have to. You're not going to make sense of it. And it's a completely different way of telling a story. Like it's a lot more realistic because you come across someone you just learned, and you're being told as like this militaristic thing. You have to trust this person. They're going to be fine. Go out and do this. You know what? They still opted to find a way to actually make it work. But this person still broke down. And somehow the military people still didn't understand or even realize that this was a fault of him at all. He's the best. But yet he breaks down on this one mission. So
And he's also the sniper that carries around a shotgun, so I don't even know what.
Hey, shotguns used to be, they're actually long-range tools a lot of
The single barrel ones, yeah, they were
Well,
longer. They were
all right,
longer
yeah.
range.
So,
age
so
17. Age 17.
Really, 17, okay.
Okay, and then is Keistis 19 then?
I think she's 18 or 19.
18 or 19? Okay.
Yeah.
She's definitely the oldest, but I thought Irvine was the same age as her. So
Yeah,
He was-
especially with him being such a player, such a ladies' man.
He's 6 feet tall.
Only? I'm not 6 feet tall. He's that my cousin's 6'2". It's not only 6 feet tall. That's like
6 feet at like 17.
Yeah. Maybe play. I don't know. Maybe he fucking drank milk. I don't.
A lot of milk.
A lot of milk.
A lot of milk.
Yeah. I don't know.
So, all right. So now we get to the climax of Disc 1. Irvine is supposed to take the shot, and he won't. And why is that? Because he always freezes up under pressure. That's his reasoning. His reasoning doesn't have anything to do with the character reveal later that, oh, by the way, I recognized all you guys, and that sorceress, that's our mother.
She just leaves
That's
it out.
not his reasoning. This whole character point should have come out right at the end of Disc 1. He should have been like, I can't shoot her. And Squall's like, why, you stupid, worthless sniper? And he goes, because that's our mother. And that's how Disc 1 should end, not with, all right, I guess I'll take the shot anyway. Oops, she brought up a barrier.
I'm gonna jump in and fight her now.
Yeah.
Even though Kestis's team was supposed to be in charge of fighting her if the shot failed, and then they never do that.
They never do it. No, Squall's team runs down there and does the dirty deed.
Exactly.
Tries to. And then what happens to Squall? He gets an ice chunk about this big through his chest, right through his chest.
And he dies.
Actually, I think it was through his. I think it was through his
Is
right.
it
I think it's his right shoulder. It's like right here. It's either his right or his left shoulder. But if it's this side, it's through his heart, which is not much better. Either way, he's dead. There's no way you survive that.
He's dead, and the rest of it is a dream. And the thing is, Disc 2 begins, and they don't even touch on how he survives it.
Yeah, he just goes, "Am I alive?" And he goes, "Yeah."
The end.
Yes, you are
The
alive.
first time I played through the game, that is when I checked out. Right there, because he gets up, he's just got a giant thing of ice thrown through him, and he just gets up. Oh, okay.
I forgot.
I'm fine now.
Irvine doesn't he? The way they animate the scene where Irvine takes the shot, the sorceress is facing away from the shot point, and he basically shoots around the building.
Yes. So she's riding the giant parade float,
Forgot.
and I didn't notice this when I first played, but I did this time, and I was like, that chair is like 50 feet long on each side. How's he going to shoot around that? And she's just like, I sense a bullet coming. It's like Irvine played by Angelina Jolie, curving bullets around stuff.
That was a cool movie.
I haven't seen it.
It is a pretty cool movie.
No, like the whole perspective, like that's actually, that whole scene is one reason why I would love to see a remake of the game, just to have a little bit better perspective. And, like,
have the parade float get in there and then turn around.
To understand more motives of the characters, why they decide to do it, because you guys have all extremely valid points, but it's also the same point of like, we didn't get to know enough about the characters on why they decided to make the decisions they did. Has that information?
Well, it's not even like so much the decisions of the characters. Like, I get that they're teenagers; they're supposed to be dumb. That's essentially the characterization that I see here.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the writing of it doesn't make any sense. Like, especially the fact that there are no consequences for any of this.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody just goes about their day. There's no. Sid's just like, yeah, whatever, you fucked up. I don't care.
If you're going to talk about consequences, I'm pretty sure the consequences of them going, like Cypher going and stealing the president.
Who she then murders in front of everyone.
like that whole part too. Like, it's, again, we see like this pulls into like my greater beef with the story of the game, is the world politics of the game is so silly.
It's there as an extreme backdrop in the end, and because you join up Renoa's country. Renoa hires you. You're supposed to be there helping her country get their independence, and then no one cares about that anymore. It comes up in very small amounts.
I love at one random point, Squall goes, "Wait, weren't we fighting for their freedom? What is even going on anymore?" He like questions like, "What am I even doing?" Because that's just the thing that Squall eventually does. He just questions everything he does, and if it's the right decision, and if it's something he really wants, if it's something he wants versus something he needs to do. And one of them is like, "What happened to fighting for their freedom? They never got it." At the end of the game, for all we know, they still don't have their freedom. We can only assume at that point.
Yeah, at no
beautiful.
point did they ever get their. Not even the end of the game.
No,
That we know of, because
that
like,
we know of. It was never explained.
like one of the other big kind of points is like moving on with the story. You know, they figure out who they are, that they all love each other, and that the GFs, which
I
Do they
hated this.
do they even say where GFs come from?
Nope. All they say is that they are responsible for them losing their memories.
Yeah. It's like
that they take up part of their brain.
Yeah, and like, you know, and like, even if we were to go and look at like where GFs come from, like, you know, you having to do the naming of your pendant for Winona, all of a sudden then you end up fighting that at the end of the game. So it's like, okay, so if GFs somehow come from our emotions or who we are possibly, and then that's how we junction to them, could be a whole separate scenario and where GFs actually come from, which makes the whole game story completely useless because it loops on itself. Therefore, they are their own GFs, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. And that's the big thing when we get into discs 3 and 4, is when we start messing with the time compression, things just stop making, like, I'm going to say they stop making sense like they ever did.
Yeah.
But everything just, it gets explained, but not in a way where you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, I can't even remember what I wanted to say now. Okay, the other thing. All right, so another scene that doesn't make sense to me at all, that just feels worthless, doesn't need to be there. When you go down and you beat up Mr. Noba, or whatever his name is.
Norg?
Norg, yes. Norg. When you beat him up, that's just it. It's a tied-up plot point that they just toss away. It's like, he gave them money to fund Seed, now you beat him up, and now he's gone.
Oh,
Forget
yeah,
it.
no, that whole area was...
It's like, why even have that? Just forget it.
Because I need to draw Leviathan from him.
Okay.
I didn't do that.
You were missing a GF going into.
I missed a bunch of them. I didn't get Pandemonium either.
Anyway,
I got them all.
It's like one of the other big plot points that just is thrown out is with like the whole school. How did Sid not know? Who's not binding any GFs, not know that the school floats and flies? How does he not know? It's your goddamn shit.
Even better. How did the other ones figure it out?
At the same time.
Like, oh, they can do it. We can do it. Yay. And even better, that guy just the way that they control that thing is awful, where he's holding it and then he goes, he like swings his whole body.
Giant glass dildo. He just slams it to the side and the thing's like, oh yeah, all right.
The only reason why I can think that they even needed to have him down in the bottom there is to go and have the point. If you go up to their like hometown and he's like, here's my hand, like just to make that really dumb joke, like, here, this is your gift, my hand, and he walks out saying, oh man, he must do this, versus him, he was showing his hand all the time. It's a real honor. And then afterwards it goes back in with them just chatting it up, saying, did you really just do that to them? Did you really just show them your hand? They're like, yeah, they bought it anyway. And then the end of scene right there. That's the only reason I can think that they need to have that little ship deal with him down there and you beating him up.
You know, my favorite story implication is, who's the dude who's paying you when you're a seed at like disc 4? And who's the dude wiring you money on disc 4 when you take
it? Because we killed Norg and now Sid got all of his money.
Time compression, it just happened.
Somebody's paying you in the past and it's finding its way into the future. There you go.
Makes perfect sense.
You know what it probably is? It's just like a little, like, you know, a Pokedex that just automatically just gives you money.
It's called a Pokedex?
It's literally printing money. I call it Pokedex, yes.
No, you called it a Pokedex.
Pokedex? I don't give a shit.
Poka.
Printing money.
The polka dots. The polka dots are giving you money.
Polka dots. Yeah, that's what it is. So at the end of all of this, clearly we all have a lot of loose ends we'd like tied up. Do you guys actually know what the story is? Like fully know and understand what is happening? Like by the end of it, how did this become resolved?
I still want to know. Why is it that I had to fight something I had to name? Why is it the ultimate?
Because whoa,
that's actually explained. Cool. That's actually explained. Yeah.
Is it explained?
She explains that she has the ability as a sorceress to reach into your deepest emotion and pull out a physical being and create a guardian force.
That's grabbing my chest and yanking my pendant off.
How did Ultimecia? She's the ultimate sorceress. That's what we don't know.
It's in her name.
It's in her name. Ultimecia, ultimate.
Ultimate sorceressia.
I will say the best thing about Ultimecia is her accent. I'm trying to like read it at the end of the game.
Oh, you mean with where she it looks like she learned how to spell watching Mortal Kombat?
Come on, it's like I don't want to say like what nationality it would be, but it's like. It's
Well,
just,
what about Dissidia? I don't remember what her voice sounds like in Dissidia at all.
I don't remember what it sounds like to Dissidia either. Actually, makes me want to go pull up Dissidia now and actually see what they did there.
Because Dissidia had some really good job voice acting some of the weirder characters in the Final Fantasy series, I feel. So I don't remember what hers. I don't think she had a strong accent of any kind in Dissidia. I think she was pretty straightforward.
Like the only time you get to hear her talk is in like at the very final. Like you come up to her, it's like enters in, and she's like, "I can't believe you guys have made it here." It's like half French, half like German.
And all her C's are replaced with K's. Like I said, she learned how to spell watching Mortal Kombat.
But I don't know. I thought it was just kind of cool just seeing that. Like, but I want to know, where did that information come from? Why is it that she used that language?
So, all right. So, for the way that the story concludes, I feel like it's been. I don't agree that it's necessarily a time loop. I feel like you've all gone back to that one point, but that things are different now, so that it's not just repeating itself.
Yeah, so the way that I interpret it is you see that the entire game took place in a time loop, and you have now consequently ended or exited said time loop.
Yeah.
But you still see Ultimecia giving her powers to Edea, so
yeah, which is explained early in the game when Edea says there was a dying woman who came here and gave me, and they tease that.
That part makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I like that it comes back and it shows you Edea got her
Hey,
powers
look, they
from
did a
Ultimecia.
plot point correctly.
Yeah. They actually wrapped that one up. I was like, yes, that makes sense. This is good job with that. But then if that's still happening, time shenaniganry.
Time essentially should still eventually compress. At that point, there should have never been a point where time wasn't compressed, essentially. Because no matter what that event, that time loop is always taking place and time is always compressed. So technically past, present, and future should always be all together. And there should never be a point in the story where time is not compressed. That's it just melts away. Every time
like so much time.
Yeah. So it's a closed loop, essentially, is what happens. And you are not in said closed loop after the defeat of Ultimecia. You have exited the closed loop, and then for some reason you're lost in time, and then Squall passes out, and Renoa has to find him, and then they have sex in the back of the fucking garden or something, and Zell almost chokes and punches him in the face.
I prefer the Squall is still a virgin theory, just to be a spiteful bastard.
What about poor Queestas?
I don't know. I think because here's the thing:
someone's gonna hit that. She's a librarian with a whip, and come on, it's gonna happen.
And so the thing is, you get the impression that Irvine and Selphie eventually become a thing because he seems to pursue her more than the rest.
Yeah.
Vernoa and Squall clearly a thing, but Zell and Queestas have no such relationship with each other.
No.
Zell has that kind of a relationship with hot dogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
He loves hot dogs. He almost I like how he gets really angry. He's like, "You recorded me almost dying?" And then he's just like, "I'm gonna punch all you girls who just walked over here to help me, I swear."
All right. Do we have any other major stuff with the story?
The poo-poos, man.
I got one more thing about the story that we didn't.
My other thing would be Squall in general. Just overall, everything about him.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you guys. We can close on Squall. I think that's a good place.
Yeah. One thing I didn't like was the characters. Just every single character, their alertiveness. They had no alertiveness whatsoever. Zero zip zilch, except for one scene, and that's when the school's getting attacked, and they actually have to start deciding who are they going to save and who are they not going to end up saving. That's the only time.
Until they lose it when Renoa falls down a cliff, hangs there for half an hour, and Irvine runs off to tell Squall, "Hey, I don't care that you're guarding the front gate and potentially saving the entire garden. You need to go save Renoa.
It needs to be you. Only you.
Ignore it. But the point is that that's the only time they ever had any type of alertness.
That starts off, the attack on the garden starts off really well. Like, oh, we got to handle this situation.
It's a great scene, too, visually.
Now, other parts where where they don't have any type of alertiveness. Actually, I lied. There is another point, and that's when the schools are getting bombed as well, too, the missile area.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
There's a little bit more alertiveness there, too, when they leave the prison. But how about when they get to the magical wall and they're like, the magical city should be here. And they're just like, there's something here. And then they just walk in just nonchalantly. They just don't care. How about when they go into space? They just don't give a shit. They're just like, we're in space.
The whole space sequence is a big mess.
Man, being colorblind sucks in the space sequence. Let me tell you about matching enemies that are the fucking same color when fucking 6 out of 8 of the enemies all look the fucking same to me.
So being in space, they have like no idea, zero alertiveness. They're just like, I guess we got to do what we got to do. You know, Squall jumping out into space. Again, zero alertiveness. We're just going to go and do this. By the way, that whole scene, Gravity stole it all, I swear. I don't know if you guys have seen that picture.
Yes. Gravity of the movie went and said, Final Fantasy VIII? Yes.
It's like picture by picture. It looks identical. Anyway, like that whole part, they just zero alertiveness. Like all of disc 3, they gave up like mentally. They checked out and they're just
Maybe
like.
That's why I checked so hard around then, because the game does.
No, the game checked really like they don't care what's being thrown at them. But us as a player as well too. Like we're not told about any of this. They don't know their ship flies. They don't know that the other, you know, that the sorcerers had some sort of link, even though hundreds of years ago they had, you know, the actual battle with the last sorceress, who is up in space, but they really didn't know much about it, nor were they surprised. Like they're kind of half surprised about this one city who has crazy awesome technology, but for some reason you have other places across the world that are still living in like, you know, middle age. It just doesn't make sense. A lot of
Final Fantasy.
Like the technology spread.
Where I bring a sword to a gunfight every time.
Like to go and have like maybe it was like one thing that we as people didn't end up really. Now we haven't even touched Laguna yet, not a single part yet.
That's because there's not much to touch.
But like one thing I think they could have done is that they separated and said we don't want technology. Like these are cities that are kind of technology-ish free. Like I think if they even just said that, it would have made a little bit more sense.
Until you find out they're all flying gardens.
Yeah.
I don't mind that some places are just total rural areas with nothing, because I mean that's relatable. That's something that we have here in real life. We've got towns that are entirely sectioned off, other areas where we're like just a lot of African villages, etc. You don't see a lot of cell phone service around there, for example.
Mm-hmm.
What bothers me about the space sequence especially is just the Deus Ex Machina of, I'm Squall, I'm going to jump out to go save Renoa. I saved her. Oh, look, there's a convenient spaceship that just so happens to be there for us. Let's go land on it so a romantic song can play while you sit in my lap.
You know, the first time I did that sequence, I missed catching Renoa because I didn't know that you could. I didn't realize you could tap like X to like move faster.
Brightest timeline.
Yeah, and then it just says she floats into space and dies. Would you like to try again?
No, I would not.
Or would you like to, I love that when games say, would you like to try again, or would you like to give up and game over and go back to your last save? It's like, what kind of question is that? Of course I want to try again. Why even ask me? Yeah, free ship that you magically can just learn how to pilot as well.
No, come on. They end up telling you how to put all the input stuff into it. During a very...
It's very automated, yeah. The piloting sequence is supposed to be automated. So when the Eyes on Me, when that played,
did this happen to you too? I think you and I had,
so yeah.
Oh, you guys didn't disable the other version?
Yeah, so when obviously one thing we didn't really talk about much is the MIDI, that the PC version and the Steam version both use a MIDI soundtrack, which sounds like shit. I personally don't mind, but the last thing I wanted to deal with while streaming was, oh my god, this fucking soundtrack over and over again. So I changed it, and I'm like, wow, this actually does sound a lot better now that I've heard the piece of shit one right alongside of it. Get to Eyes on Me or Eyes on You, and unlike the rest of the scene, they both play like slightly off, so it's like it has an echo the entire time. Yeah, that happened to me with the mod.
I got to that, and I was like, I don't remember the song doing this originally.
It's like, oh, it had an echo effect? That's really cool.
Is the echo effect gonna go? I thought it would like be at the beginning, and then it would go away, and then it kept going, and I was like, oh no.
Then it just ruins the scene for everyone.
I was lucky enough because I ended up doing that whole sequence when I was at PAX. I streamed from the booth, and I ended up playing that whole sequence out, which was really cool. But I got to listen to the MIDI soundtrack for an hour. The victory theme is a frightening sound.
Oh, is it?
It's bad.
Is it like? I was gonna
It's
say,
really
is it like Final Fantasy Tactics GB Game Boy
Oh, it's worse
Advance
than that.
sound, or okay, or Final Fantasy 4 Game Boy Advance?
It's
sound?
really bad.
Yeah, okay.
It's really, really bad. But I don't know, when I came back and then I had the mod installed and then played through it a second time, because I remember reading that is a possibility that ends up happening. They don't rename one of the files. But yeah, did you at least go back and delete it? And
No.
Out again?
No, it was a great memory that I would never change.
Exactly.
Damn.
I don't care about Renault and Squalt's love story. So for me personally,
That made that
really
scene
made that
really good. Yeah.
you know,
Everyone's like ready to Bible thump in your chat, and then all of a sudden that starts happening, and everyone's like, "What the fuck is this?" Oh man. Okay, so we talked a lot about the story of Final Fantasy VIII, which is ironic, considering the quality.
Is Laguna Squall's daddy?
That's common theory. Yeah. I don't think Ultimania says it. He definitively is, but it's heavily implied that he is the daddy.
the other thing I would say about the story, one of the things that I do sort of enjoy, but I didn't like in this game, I like the idea of the main character's inner monologue. Unfortunately, like the reason I think that came about is because in Final Fantasy VII, Morag, we talked about this on the previous one, Cloud's character does not come across whatsoever for the first 3 discs.
Yeah.
He doesn't have much of a character. He basically goes, Sephiroth, I'm going to chase you down. And then people tell him to do stuff, and he goes, all right. That's his character for the beginning of the game. You get very, very brief moments of him having decent characterization. Of like when he's asleep, and there's that voice in his head, things are weird. And that's as close as you get to something good for him until the big reveal of what actually happened at Nibelheim. So I feel like Square said, oh man, our main character, he's supposed to come across like this awesome mercenary badass, but we don't give him any good characterization throughout most of the game. So let's introduce some inner monologue, because there's a lot going on in Cloud's head. I think seeing what was going on in Cloud's head could have been really fun, because his head is an amusement park of mindfuckery. It's totally messed up in there. So then 8 comes along, and we get inner monologue into Squall. Unfortunately, Squall is a whiny, annoying teenager who rolls around on his bed and goes, I hate everything.
Yeah.
And
It's
it just
not-
doesn't work. It's just really annoying to have to deal with his characterization like that all the time.
And you know what? This is like, I guess one thing is like, why do we play video games? Why do we end up enjoying entertainment in general? Like, you know, are you going to watch a stream of a person that's always pissed off? But the problem is like, are you your person have a personality that's even like that alone? Like, what are your inner battles that you're battling, and do other people want to know that as well too? It's like, why do we, like, if a game wants to try and be as transparent as possible to say this stuff exists in life, like, why not, you know, allow yourself to actually say, hey, this is stuff that could actually happen? Or do you just want to kind of use ignorance and say, screw it, I'm just looking for the best experience possible and ignore everything else that's out there?
I'm gonna put this out there. Yes, that emotion happens in real life. This entire world does not happen in real life, though.
No, I agree. But this is like one character that we've never really seen much of. Or
For me, it's the same argument as Hope in Final Fantasy 13. Yeah, I get that Hope's pissed off because his mom died. That doesn't mean he's an interesting character that I want to watch.
well, it's the same thing. Like, you don't want to be around those styles of people in life, though, too. It's a choice that we make as a person wanting to interact with another human being. That's the reason why TV shows have their tropes, and why only certain characters show up in Disney movies as well too. It's because the formula works, and that's what is most likable. It's why we have personalities for some streams. It's why YouTubers are all very the same for their top end acts. It's because it works. It's the reason why presidents and people in power never say anything negative. They always try to say something as positive as possible and have it screened for likability. It's because if you want to be in that position to sell something or to enjoy something around you, you need to have it sellable. And I'd say
Squall is not sellable.
No, FF8 Squall is not sellable, but either is the rest of the game. Either.
Widespread.
The whole story isn't really sellable because it doesn't make sense. And that's where I'd say like the character is fine, it's just not sellable.
I agree, because I kind of feel that way about Tidus when we get to 10. It was like He's a whiny annoying bitch too. But you know what? It's scenario he's in, I can forgive him.
Well, we'll talk about that more when we get to 10. But it's
Yeah.
kind of funny that, given his situation, that he's probably going to get erased from existence. He handles it pretty gracefully.
He's like, oh, at least I know everything now. Okay, well that's good. Okay, I won't tell them. I won't tell them till it's too late for them to change their mind. Okay.
No,
Perfect.
don't get me wrong. FF8's by far one of my favorites now. Like, it's probably my third favorite Final Fantasy game.
That's a bold move, Cotton. See if it pays off. Okay. All right. So the last thing we need to talk about is actually progressing through Final Fantasy VIII, and this does not need to be a long discussion because it is not much to progress. Yeah, we've essentially already had what it's like to progress through the game. You either get really good at cards, or you spend a lot of time drawing. One of those two things will lead you to success.
Depends on how much magic you can get, as quickly as you can get it. As soon as you get the magic, you win the game.
Yeah. And I learned that you win the game as soon as you can beat Zell's mom in cards. Not beat her, like, physically. No.
Oh, Zell, were you around at all?
Special.
I didn't get to see too much. I only got to see like an hour.
I sat at Zell's mom, threw on Music Request, and just ended up sitting there for like 8
Sat
hours.
at Zell's mom. There we go.
I sat at Zell's
Now,
mom.
all right, everybody else was saying Squall's mom as well. What do you end up getting from her?
Zell's mom?
Yeah.
You get El Noil cards.
Yeah.
They're rarer than they are with Sid, but you get El Noil cards. You get I forgot the card that refines into tornadoes. You get them from her as well. Sandworms. You get the worms from her, which refine into tornadoes, which is probably the best way to get to the highest strength early on. She has just a bunch of really good cards for taking on the rest of the players in the rest of the game, essentially. If you have all of the cards she owns, odds are you'll beat anyone who has a specialty card along the way, and then you'll pick up those specialty cards, and then it just, by the end of the game, is easy.
Yeah. And the nice thing is also right near Zell's mom is where you encounter the Queen of Cards the first time. So you can get her to put in the all rule afterwards. So whenever you win a fight, especially if you're farming out the Unoil cards, you get all the cards as well too every single time you beat her up. And then you get even more magic.
Yeah.
Like I'd almost say if you're ever going to even touch cards, get the all rule as soon as possible, and then just sit at Zell's mom and then get as many cards as you can, because you power yourself up right then and there. Yeah.
She has everything you need, essentially, other than the Grendel Fangs, in order to get the Lionheart. Sid is the other option. They essentially have the same deck.
Sid, I actually farmed them off of Quistis groupie number 1 down in the cafeteria.
Yeah, you could do that too.
I think he has the highest chance of having an El Noil card after you get his special cards. He's got like a 25% chance. I've read a little bit about it. Apparently, he has the highest rate at dropping an El Noil card.
Yeah. I think I was at about like 1 in every 6, 1 every 8 fights with Zell's mom was about it.
Yeah, that sounds about right for Sid and Zell's mom.
I would ultimately just Alt F4 and then just reload. I just keep doing that over and over until I got the card I needed. It was faster than just doing the whole fight.
I did them all because I wanted to collect as much magic because I didn't remember what everything refined into, and I didn't feel like looking it up. So I just grabbed everything I could. Every fight, I just made sure to take something back. Yeah. I lost that Zell card at one point and had to win it back, but
I lost my Quistis card. No, my Ifrit card, and I had to win that back. Took it half an hour, probably.
Yeah.
One nice thing, actually, that just talk about progression is that this is now the second Final Fantasy game where levels mean absolutely nothing, pretty much.
Now, it's the second one, but what was the first one where levels specifically meant nothing?
Final Fantasy 2?
2? Yeah, but I mean, like, levels didn't even exist in Final Fantasy 2. I guess it's hard to say whether or not they mattered. But I guess in a sense, yeah.
Well, like, I guess, like, levels don't change your character in 8. They change what you can get around the world.
Yeah.
It changes
the draws.
If you have the right junctions, if you have the right abilities equipped from your Guardian Forces, because you can get strength junction up, which that way every time you level up, you get strength up.
Yeah, like levels.
It kind of actually goes back to the Final Fantasy VI way of things.
Yeah, but like with 2, like there was no levels. You just ended up leveling up the stuff you wanted to. It's kind of the same thing here in 8. You kind of do the same thing. You'd end up leveling. You would go and get the magic. You go and level up that stat and only that stat if you wish. There's some magic that are better than for other stats. But this was, I think they did it better than 2, though. I enjoyed
Anything's better than 2. Anything's better than 2.
But
because here's the thing.
They tried a second time to try and do a levelless experience.
So the thing is, it's not necessarily a levelless experience. You kind of pick and choose the way that you go through the game. Because here's the thing: when you're young and you're conditioned, like you gotta remember when we were young, Final Fantasy 2 wasn't available. Like we never got to play it unless you had like a Famicom and you had a Japanese one, which most kids didn't. So we didn't know that we had a Final Fantasy 2 to compare it to. So what do we have? We have 1, 4, and 6, and then 7. Those are essentially the 4 Final Fantasy games you have played prior to 8. And in all of them, when you kill an enemy, you get experience points, you level up, it helps you beat the enemies. Mm-hmm. In Final Fantasy 8, you kill the enemy, you level up, the enemy levels up too, and you're just like, why is this game not getting any easier? I don't, what's going on? Like, and this guy's got like Blizzara.
In fact, the leveling in general makes the game harder. It's a disadvantage to be leveling up most of the time.
Yeah, because the advantage to leveling up is that it allows you to draw more powerful magic. Yeah. The downside is, why do that when I could just play card games? Yeah. Play card games and farm items, essentially.
Play card games and make it up to the draw points where you get the more powerful spells from the world draw points.
Yeah. I know there's a few Ultima draw points around the world that you have to visit quite frequently.
Yeah. There's also the Meteor draw point. The Meteor one was the
I did the Meteor one. Yeah, that one's amazing.
I could have just cheesed the crap out of that one for ease of use.
Did you guys sit on the 2 islands at all and draw from?
No, I didn't go hell in heaven.
Yeah, you just go there with Diablos and you could get all the magic you needed.
I was gonna say, isn't Hell in Heaven? Isn't that the one exception where the enemies are always level 100?
I don't think so.
Maybe that's
I wasn't able to one shot them earlier on, but at the end I wasn't able to. I had to go and use Queese's diffusion on everything.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know that in the PlayStation 1 version of the game, Omega's automatically level 100. You can't avoid that. So if you want to reasonably stand a chance against him, you need you need Squall 100. That's all you need. Let's be honest. You don't need anyone else on 100. Fuck them. Yeah, just get Ragnarok and just fly between heaven and hell with encounter none on for the draw points is what I'm being told.
That's what I ended up doing.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't do that. I didn't need to. The game was so easy the whole time through, essentially. And I mean, yeah, that's Final Fantasy VIII's whole progression is how can I not level up? There's even an achievement in the Steam version to end the game with Squall at level 7, which is his starting level.
I want to try it, but the real thing is basically you just don't use Squall ever. You kill him off and you just don't touch it anymore.
And if you do want to use him, it's only on boss fights because you won't get experience points, essentially. So yeah, I mean, it's not really that challenging because even without Squall, the rest of the game doesn't prove much more difficult. You just don't have the beauty that is Lionheart. Essentially, you just fucking triple triad for everyone else's ultimate weapons and go to town.
The weapons are almost useless for every other character.
Yeah,
I think I got selfies because I had all the stuff needed for it. Plus, I could use that to go and kill Cactuars as quickly as possible, just to level up GFs quicker. Yeah, Cactuars, man, they're amazing.
Yeah, I don't remember what I did for Cactuars. I think I had enough accuracy and damage to the point where I was just killing them outright and I didn't have to worry too much because I needed to do the Cactuars to get the AP, to get Alexander, to learn the right abilities, to make Doom Trains items, so the Remedy pluses. Yeah, that was fun.
By the time I was already at that point, I didn't need to. I already had enough points and everything. Doom Train was actually the last guy for me to get.
But for me it was Eden because I did them in the order that's almost kind of expected of you to go, like as you draw them throughout the game, Siren, Leviathan, Pena, all those, the Cerberus when you get to the garden, of course. And then that's another thing. So Final Fantasy VII was pretty big on its optional bosses in the forms of in the forms of Ultimate Weapon, Emerald, and Ruby. Final Fantasy VIII just said, cool, weapons worked well in the last game, we'll just fucking put them in our game. All right. So Ultimate Weapon's the first one, who for some fucking reason has Cloud's ultimate weapon as the sword that he's holding.
Because time compression.
Yeah, because of time compression. And then you have Omega, who sits in Ultimicia's castle. He doesn't even unlock an ability when you fucking kill him. And he gives you the certificate that you can go down to Blockbuster and print out and hang it on your fridge, and everyone knows you're the greatest. How do we feel about these optional bosses versus Ruby and Emerald? Because I laugh at these bosses every time I play through this game.
I didn't do them myself.
You should go back and do the Ultima. He was a pretty fun fight, actually.
Yeah.
Omega is silly because I read up on it. It's just basically memorizing what you should be doing after what move.
Or
you just spam the end.
Or you go play what's her face in the airship for the Laguna card, and you get 10 Holy Wars, which make your entire party invincible. And you just aura somebody before then, or have them on low health, Holy War, and then every time Holy War is going to wear off, you just reapply it. You just Lionheart like as many times as you can possibly get for RNG. That's how I beat literally Ultima and Omega. I just sat there and Holy War or heroed, and then just rents a coke.
Yeah,
the fucking ability.
Touch Holy War whatsoever. I didn't even know it existed. I know I could go and I could have used hero drinks.
Yeah, I had 100 heroes as well.
I didn't touch those at all.
Those break the game pretty hard.
Yeah. As soon as you take no damage, there's issues.
The only really weird thing is you actually have to cast aura. If you're gonna aura, you have to aura before you use those invincibility items.
Yeah, it makes it completely invulnerable to that positive status effect.
I had a problem with FF7 end fight because I didn't have.
I watched you do that. You used the Panacia or whatever that.
Yeah, I used the thing that basically pauses your character and makes it so then like nothing can switch for any of the statuses on your character. And I had Frog stuck on him for pretty much the whole fight. And I couldn't do anything. I think there was finally an item that would get rid of it and fix it all up, but it was awesome.
Wasn't worth it.
I finally figured out what was wrong, and I fixed it. But yeah, it was hilarious and bad at the same time.
Nothing like taking down the world's biggest threat as a frog. It's a great feeling.
Hit him with the tongue.
It was good.
And yeah, I mean that's it. The super bosses here don't really drop anything of value. One of them drops Eden, who you'll probably never summon because fuck the minute and a half cast time that Eden has. And
actually, it wasn't that bad compared to like other games. Eden still was not that bad.
You know, Eden is the third longest animation in all of Final Fantasy. We had
holy shit! It felt really short then when I did it.
So you have to boost it.
Is it because you were boosting? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was boosting. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's helping you. It keeps you active during it, so the time it seems less.
No, it actually does change the time of the summoning animation.
Oh, really?
Apparently, yes.
I forgot about that. I didn't use boost at all on my playthrough.
I don't remember if boosted Eden is longer or shorter, but I know that boost does actually extend. It either extends or not using it extends the duration of the summon. So Supernova from 7 is the longest animation.
Yeah, screw that game. Screw that. I sat through that far too much. Ugh.
I only had to see it once.
On you 3 or 4 times.
3 or 4.
I didn't even see it once.
It's over.
It's
over 2 minutes long. Supernova. Just behind that is Arcs. I think Arc, Eden, and Magus Sisters. If you combine Magus Sisters, opening, summoning, and Delta attack. If you combine both of them, it's technically, I think, the second or third longest. And Knights of the Round is actually the 4th or 5th longest. Eden is longer than Knights of the Round, and Supernova is longer than.
Feel that long then? Damn.
Just wait till you get to 9. Well, when you get to Arc in 9, he feels really. It's really long.
Where is Arc? Like Arc's last boss?
So there's 2 ways to get Arc in 9. You either have to beat Ozma, which is option number 1, or you have to get 2 pumice pieces, which are pretty easy, and then craft them at Hades into a pumice, and then that is Arc. It's actually not that hard to get both the pumice pieces. It's pretty easy.
I'll probably look into that then. Like, FF9 to me is still one of those games where I'm just like, there's so little gameplay and so much just random chatter.
So much stealing.
Like, there really is. Oh my god, they do not shut up. The game is so slowly paced. We'll talk more about it next
Steiner.
week. Yeah, it's terribly paced.
So on that note, do you have any closing thoughts on Final Fantasy VIII?
I will likely never play it again.
I want to play it again.
I personally was actually, before the count up was a thing, I was planning on doing my own version. I mentioned that before. And for it, I was going to play through Final Fantasy VIII again because I played through Chrono Cross again, a game that I didn't like growing up because I wanted to give it another chance. There's been a lot of distance there. I wanted to see if I felt any differently about it now. And I wanted to do that with 8 before 15 came out as well. And now that I've done that, I know that I never want to play it ever again.
And Morag?
I might want to, actually. I even go so far as I'd love to see them, if they could possibly even remake 8 in a slightly different way. I'd love to see if they redid the whole game. Like, honestly, you know what? FF8 is one of the games that I think would do very well with a chapter-like system. Like, telling the story in chunks, kind of like what they're doing with Hitman or anything along the lines of that. Like, give little pieces here and there and fashion the story around it so that it feels a little bit more biteable. Because right now they throw so much at you kind of going through the game, you don't really know where it separates and what you should really be looking at and thinking about at that time. They don't have meaning to each area you end up going into it. They just throw a story at you and hope that you can digest the entire thing. But I would like to replay through 8 again. I don't know if I want to kind of do a casual, like no card playthrough, possibly like low magic. I don't know. It's something to take a look at, because it's one of those games that allows you to play the game in many different ways if you wish, either with cards, with refining, with drawing, with maybe you're only going to use, maybe you're going to limit yourself to only using 3 stats the entire game. Maybe you won't use any GFs. You could play the game many different ways.
So I'm going to throw a fun little trivia question at you guys, because my chat brought it up and I just Googled what the answer was real quick. Final Fantasy VIII is in the top 10 most highest selling Final Fantasy games of all time. It is there. Where do you think it is placed on the list?
I think I've actually heard this before, and this is the top 10 highest selling of all time. You said
The top 10 highest selling. Morag's guess is 3.
It's either 3 or 4.
There's definitely final. Now this is counting all of their releases.
This is forever.
Oh, this is not initial release. This is like all of them. So grouping in Android too and everything.
Android,
yes.
iOS, etc. Okay.
Oh, possibly. Maybe 5 then.
Yeah, let me think. 4 has to be way up there. 7, maybe 6. I'm gonna put it at 5th.
So Final Fantasy VIII is the 3rd highest selling
Really?
Square Enix game of all time. In front of it are Final Fantasy X in second place and Final Fantasy VII in first place.
Okay.
In fourth place
13.
is 13.
Yeah.
Huh.
Is their 4th highest selling. Final Fantasy 12 is their 5th highest selling. Final Fantasy X-2 is the 6th highest selling. Mm-hmm. Then Kingdom Hearts 1 is at 7, Dragon Quest 8 is at 8, Dragon Warrior 7 is 9, and Kingdom Hearts 2 is number 10. Final Fantasies 4 and 6 are not in the highest selling, and I believe we have Final Fantasy 7 to thank for that.
That must not include the re-release stuff. I don't think.
I would think that 4 should be up there. 6 I can't see being up there at all.
So from what I understand,
13's just 13, not 13.
It's just 13. Yeah, we're not even talking about 13.2 and 13.3. Final Fantasy 13 on its own.
13.2 was half the sales, and then Lightning Returns was half of 2 sales, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, because Final Fantasy 13.2 falls just behind Kingdom Hearts 2, which it's like 11 or 12th place essentially. But the thing is, Final Fantasy 7 has 11.14 million copies, 11.14 million copies sold. What ended up happening with that is because it created such a craze for Final Fantasy in terms of its mainstream popularity, 8 being the very next one, sold incredibly well. Yeah. 9 strangely didn't. It's not on this list. I guess by that point, the interest had waned, and then when the PlayStation 2 came out, Final Fantasy X blew everybody's fucking minds out. Yeah. 12, same deal, because 10, 10 and 12 both blew people's minds away with the graphics and everything, and then 13 was, again, first Final Fantasy game on the PS3.
On the new system, dual system, on Xbox 360 and PS3.
Which is essentially why you don't see games like 6 and 4 in there, because of the whole confusion with 2, 3 being 4 and 6, then 4 and 6 re-releasing, and never re-releasing in a 3D voice-acted or any sort of story. It's something that like really only dedicated Final Fantasy fans know and have played. If you ask most people, they'll have played 7 and on, but not 4, 5, 6, etc., etc. Yeah. So I just thought that was a fun little fact since my chat brought it up, and we shit on 8 for the entire episode. So the fact that it's the 3rd highest selling Final Fantasy of all time is pretty fucking nuts. So that's I just wanted to share that because it felt like a fun thing to go over here. My thoughts on 8, since I let you guys do most of the talking. I strangely enjoy my time with 8, mostly because I laugh and I can poke jokes at it, but I still at the end it's turn-based combat. I enjoy getting overpowered. Like, that's one of my favorite things to do in Final Fantasy games is get to the point where I'm overpowered. I'm not someone who enjoys doing those like low level runs and then like hyper challenging. I'm like, I want to shit on everything. And in Final Fantasy VIII, it's probably the best game to do that. Essentially.
To a degree, yeah. Yeah. Especially if you do a lot of the extra card game stuff and get the Holy War.
Which I did.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know, like FF8's one of those games where it's just they tried something completely new. They tried something new with the story. I think they tried so much just different new stuff. It gets a lot of polarity. Either people hate it, love it. It's in between there.
I feel like it's definitely in between for me because I don't love it, I don't hate it, but I would definitely play it again given the opportunity. It's just I've played that game like 4 or 5 times through at this point.
We have the whole gamut here. We've got love it, we've got and then we've got hate it.
Yeah. That's all right, Slack. We forgive you. Okay, so that's going to be a wrap for... Don't forgive Morag. Morag shit on it the whole episode, too. He just said in the end he still loves it.
You.
Oh, I'm...
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was eh.
Yeah, you were eh.
Oh, but he loves it.
Yeah.
But he still shit on it the whole show.
I gotta still shit on it. Like, it has some really cool systems in it. They just need to be refined. That's the thing. They just need to be refined. And it's kind of like that. Like, you know, two is still the game that I will hate at this point.
Yep.
Like, I really will, because it sucks. It really does. They have systems that badly need to be refined, but they just didn't work, and I don't know if they'll ever work. With FF8, they just need to be refined.
They work so much they made an entire series of RPGs that use the same system.
Yeah.
They just didn't name it Final Fantasy anymore.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
All right. So announcement-wise, I don't think there's actually anything of major importance here. Justice Monsters 5's been out for a little bit of time if you guys have tried that.
That game is way better than it has any right to be.
I know. It doesn't make any sense why I'm having fun with this game, but I have fun with this
First time I
game.
booted it up, I was like, this is so cool.
I don't know what the fuck is going on, but it's so cool.
I haven't touched it yet. Like I'm still been trying to catch up from my whole PAX week, well 10 days because I was away and then PAX and everything. So I was able to watch Kingsglaive, and that was really good. I need to sit down and watch it again though, because I was like half falling asleep on the bus when I was trying to watch it.
Yeah, and we still won't have a spoiler cast about Kingsglaive, not for quite some time. At some point, I'd like us to have a spoiler cast about Kingscast. Kingscast. That's what we'll call it, Kingscast.
The King's Cast.
There you go.
Count up King's Cast.
Yeah, there you go. I'd like us to do a spoiler cast of Kingsglaive at some point, but I don't know how Slack feels about that because...
I'm fine with that. I haven't seen it yet, but I do plan on getting a hold of it soon.
I know you both are in the quasi I don't want to know too much boat, so I wasn't sure exactly. And by the way, Brotherhood, I believe, is coming out in the next few days. The 5th episode, what would have been the final pre-release episode.
Yeah.
You know.
Wait, are they doing more episodes for
Well,
it?
the episode 6 is still part of the Ultimate Edition.
Okay.
But that would have come out at the end of the month, and now that doesn't come out till November, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we had a bunch of PAX West stuff that was brand new with 15. Also, World of Final Fantasy got a whole bunch of new footage there, which still looks ridiculous, but fun at the same time.
I didn't see any of it. Do you have any thoughts?
About it yet.
So the biggest thing that's really weird about World of Final Fantasy is the stacking mechanic. I get it, like what they're trying to accomplish with it, but it just looks like visually so stupid when they're not in their chibi form, because they're just like, yeah, and then there's a mandragora on their head, yeah, and then there's a mandragora on that mandragora's head, and it's not like they're showing any sort of response to like the weight that's on top of them. They're still normal battle stance, and then it's just like, yeah, and it's really weird. But it's turn-based combat. It's collecting and leveling your Pokemon, as I like to call them, because that's essentially. And we also found out that if you want to, you can de-level them. You can forcibly de-level them in order to bring them back to a previous form. If there's for any reason, if there's like, I guess if they ever split forms and you had one form, you could go back and then go up the other road. So it's like picking Eevee, but like devolving it back to an Eevee and then going to the other. I don't know if that's exactly what it's for, but I know you can de-level them. Essentially forcibly, but it is essentially Pokemon. They confirmed that it's about 40 hours for the main story, about 100 hours with all the side content. They originally mistranslated it and said it was 100 hours without side content. Now it's been cleared.
Of course, that was a mistranslation. We knew that.
Yeah. So 40 hours for the main game and about 100 hours to do everything, approximately. And that's still October 25th. Do you know what else comes out October 25th?
There's at least one other thing. I think the Dark Souls 3 DLC. Yeah.
I'm not happy. I can't win this holiday season.
Yep.
Final Fantasy 15 gets pushed back. Dark Souls 3 DLC is the same day as World of Final Fantasy. Like,
I still had to go back and finish my Dark Souls 3 run. I decided on the very first time playing it, because the game was fairly easy. I decided to challenge myself and not put a single point into my vitality.
How did that go?
So it's been fun. I'm on the last boss. I got through one of his HP bars, and I got halfway through the second one, and then I died, and I just haven't gone back.
Well, I did an all fist run in Dark Souls 3, and yes, that does include Yorm. So took about 45 minutes, and it took me 3 attempts. With about a 5% wipe on one of them. So just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah.
I'm going to be continuing at FF9.
Yeah,
yes. You guys are both on Final Fantasy 9. How far are you in Final Fantasy 9?
A little ways into Disc 3. I did about an hour of people talking endlessly with 2 fights thrown in there. And now I did the Chocobo stuff. And I have to go get my airship, and then I can get the final Chocobo form and finish all that up.
I completely skipped over Hugh, or whatever his name is. I didn't pick him up in the Chocobo Forest.
Oh, Quina.
Quina, yeah.
That's he, she to you.
He, she.
They actually do he/she the entire game. Yeah. Them, essentially. Yeah, but they say he/she like over and over and over again in the whole game. And it's never clarified. Can't wait to talk about the loopholes of next week's fucking story. Next week, we'll be talking about Final Fantasy IX. These two will have finished it by then and will hopefully be moving their way through to Xanarkand by the time we get to have that discussion. We'll see if either of you are like me and man up to take on Ozma.
For 9?
Yeah, for 9.
We'll see.
I don't know. Right now, if there is a game, I'm going to be shitting all over.
Really? Wow.
I'm not a fan of
Hey,
it.
man, it's not in the top 10 list. This must not be
That's
good.
why.
Give everyone a
Maybe
taste
on it
of
a
next
little
week.
bit.
There's far too much talking. Just let me play the damn game.
Yep, I
I
agree completely.
enjoy the leveling. I enjoy trying to collect all the skills, but holy shit, just let me play. Don't make me have to go and talk to that one NPC zone and re-talk to him again just to progress the goddamn story.
This is going to be
It's
fun.
going to be fun.
It's not in the top 10 most high selling. It must be terrible, right?
Oh, it's awful. It's apparently worse than Kingdom Hearts 2, which...
Don't make us have to do a Kingdom Hearts count up Slack just so I can hear that discussion.
I'm already planning on doing it.
Oh, fuck!
2.8, so...
Fuck!
I did the... I still have...
What do you mean? You're just not going to have time to do it. It's literally Final Fantasy 15
right.
like 3 weeks later.
Yep. I was considering doing
Figure it out.
Do it for Kingdom Hearts 3, maybe not 2.8. Do it for 3.
Figure it out.
All right.
I still want to... I guess it's like first time, but I'm going to be doing something for Zelda.
Zelda's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
That's gonna,
Zelda's leading right up to the launch of the NX, possibly.
that's going to be interesting.
We might hear information about that in 16 days. The 28th is the rumored date.
28th. We'll be at TwitchCon, won't we?
It's a couple of nights before TwitchCon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going in on Saturday. Or Thursday. Saturday.
Thank you, whoever wrote in the show notes. I like that these announcements are from last week.
That was me.
Kappa B.
Kappa
B.
Yeah.
There you go. Alrighty then. So on that note, I think we're ready to sign off, and these two gentlemen can finally work on catching up to me a little bit because I'm a maniac.
And you can work on slowing down. Hey,
Don't worry.
You've got enough time. Why don't you play the IZJS version of 12 while you're at it?
No, because I refuse to play it until it comes out as Zodiac Age.
But
That's
you've
like
got all the time.
I've also got this, and I don't have a physical version of this. By the way, when I plugged in my PS3, it had a disc in there, which was this. So, speaking of Kingdom Hearts 2.5, which I think has 1.5 on it. Actually, I think it was another disc that I probably don't have anymore because the mail lost all my collector's editions when I moved out west. And Kingdom Hearts 2.5 was among them, so the fact that I even have the game is nothing short of a miracle.
That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they'll re-release them all for the PS4 next year before Kingdom Hearts 3 anyway. So
Probably. Yeah.
PC version soon.
yeah, then the Steam version. Like, damn, there's no Steam Kingdom Hearts games. Disney's never gonna do that shit. Come on, Disney, get your shit together.
Final Fantasy Tactics on Steam. When?
We waited how long for 9? See you in 10 years.
Just get the PSP version and patch it. You're all good.
Came out before 9.
You're good. All right. On that note, gentlemen, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you at? Do we go with the best stream first or the worst stream first this time?
Start with the worst. Twitch.tv/tehMorag. Go stream there or go watch there. It's good and awesome. It's fun. And we have Kingdom Heart emotes if you want to subscribe. And we have a bit cup that you can just throw cheers into and watch stuff explode. You know, it's fun. You know?
Don't worry. I'm sure all three of our chats are quite familiar with said mechanic.
Yes.
I'm just saying I'm the worst stream, so come here. Come to mine.
I am tied for worst stream. I'm worst stream North America. You can be worst stream Canada. I'll give you that one more egg.
You make it sound like North America. You're still better than me here.
I hope you understand that Canada is a part of North America.
Yeah, I know. He made
That was part of the joke.
It's like I lost at the North American races, but I still won the Canadian ones. When I find you,
I said I was the second worst stream, period. So I was giving you that leeway. See, I was trying to be nice. There are layers to what I said. I thought all this out.
He's like an ogre.
I have a feeling that
Slackaholicus.tv. I'm going to be playing FF9 today. I just started Disc 3. We're through the worst part of it. Come watch me play Chocobo Hot and Cold.
So
on Fast Forward.
I was just going to say, do you know that Chocobo Hot and Cold is easier on Fast Forward?
Yeah, it's pretty silly.
So
you could probably get Excalibur 2 really easily as well.
You can, trust me. I've been working on it. So in Chocobo Hot and Cold, when you speed up the gameplay, it doesn't speed up the in-game clock, so you can essentially dig a shit ton. You can be like, dig, 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 and then just go through it. Yeah.
And you can get like the strongest forearm in the world.
It's really tiring. I had a really hard time. Like I was like, I need a turbo controller. This is awful.
People were like, let's open up a Get Slackaholic as a turbo controller.
Do you not have Get Xpatter?
I have it, but I just don't feel like using it.
Yeah, me neither. Because it works natively, so I lose interest. Okay, and then I'm the last guy. Not terrible, I think, of a stream. I don't know.
You're at least in the top 10 list for North America.
Can I be number 3?
You are the Final Fantasy VIII of worst streamers.
Well, I guess it's better than being the Final Fantasy 13 of worst streamers. Anyway, as Morag's like grits his teeth, like I don't hate that game. You can find me.
Play 13-2 so badly again.
Don't worry, I'll be on that game in like 6 days. Yeah, tomorrow. Especially with what happened today, which I'll share with you guys real quick. That was fun. You can find me, Mr. Happy1227, everywhere. YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, all those places. I am currently on Final Fantasy 12. I am not playing the International Zodiac Job Edition. I am playing vanilla Final Fantasy 12 because I refuse to play International Edition until it comes out next year on the remade version.
It's worth
PS4.
replaying.
I am fully intend to, and you know what? I intend to have to play it twice next year because it'll probably come out on the PlayStation 4 and then it'll come out on Steam before the end of the year. So I fully anticipate having to play it again 2 more times next year. One thing that I'd like to share is that something that is a difference between the Zodiac Edition and this version is how you obtain the Zodiac Spear. I obtained mine today in the vanilla version. I did it, and how I did it was I didn't touch those chests, and as a level 29, I ran to the Necro Hall where you can find it, and I slowly suicided my way through the dungeon to get the Zodiac Spear. In the end, I lost 5 characters as I was exiting the Zodiac Spear room. My level 8 Vaughn escaped with his life, who I have deliberately avoided using the entire game. He managed to get a Phoenix down on somebody and res them, and then Pinello, who he resed, who was level 19, didn't have aggro on anything, and I managed to resurrect the whole party and get out with the Zodiac Spear.
Now I understand what that tweet was about.
I haven't even been into the Hen Mines yet, and I have the Zodiac Spear, which is the strongest weapon in the game. Yep. So I'm going to have a lot to say about Final Fantasy 12 when we get there, because I have been breaking this game in every way imaginable, and it is still just doing things to me like that fucking Necro Hall dungeon did. It's essentially been my entire experience with that game. So that's where I sit right now, is grinding up 600 license points in order to actually use the fucking spear.
Use it, yeah.
So,
the license board.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one to talk about.
There's a couple AFK spots if you just want to leave it on overnight.
I know, I'm in one right now. and I've been in one the entire show.
Are you in the... Well, no, you're not.
I'm in Lusu Mines right now.
The Lusu, with the slimes from the ceiling, I think?
No, that's after Hen Mines when you learn Fyra. That's when you do the slimes.
Ah, alright.
Yeah. Don't worry, the International Zodiac Job Edition has weapons that break the game even more. So,
It's
That'll be
got
fun.
systems in place that break it even harder, like
Yes,
the
it does.
Masamune being able to multi-hit and break damage cap. Lots of great things. In
Oh, and did you know that in the Zodiac Age, there's a rumor going around that they will allow you to change jobs at the cost of you needing to completely redo a new job's licensing board.
That's good. That's
interesting.
cool.
Yeah.
That's a rumor, but it's possible.
Yeah.
So I'm
That'd
just
be
throwing
nice
that out there.
because you can make it. Honestly, you can kind of.
It's Final
put yourself
Fantasy
into a
V.
corner.
It's Final Fantasy V if they do that, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, to a degree, unless like when you go back to your previous job, you have to learn.
You have to learn it
lessons
all
in
over
there.
again. I
That
don't
would
know.
suck.
It's still a rumor, so there's no definitive information. All right, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap things up. Thank you for joining us for CountUpCast Final Fantasy VIII. We'll see you next week for Slackaholicus, his favorite Final Fantasy IX. And until then...
We're going to reverse rules.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't like 9. That's the thing.
Oh.
I'm in a similar boat to you. I'm right there with you. But I don't hate it as much as you do. So
I don't hate it. It's just... Zzz. Okay, I hate it.
Yeah,
Because it puts me to sleep. I just want to kill it. I want to kill anyway.